on YouTube? This is Tomey Dev here. It's been a long time since I've talked about anything with development or anything like that, honestly. I've been kind of working on this a little bit. Again, I've just recently came back to kind of doing it because of problems I've been having with life, as you know. But really, to be honest, I've kind of already graduated high school. I've done basically a lot for the past months, a few months I think or so. That I've been out, I think. Could just be months or days that I've been out, but honestly on YouTube, but I don't really care, man. What I've shown you guys are some of these assets over here, which I've created. Some of these assets are like some of them were lent to me by not lent, but given to me by developers or are just remodel assets that I kind of recreated in some form of capacity. These two I've recreated because this light pole has this issue of having this thing on here. And this is a mesh, by the way, so I had to redo the light pole in Fusion and report this into this model in particular. And while these models do have some problems and stuff like that, honestly, I kind of just done my own thing with them and tried to fix them a little bit. Which explains why this one looks extremely well done with the light pole. I don't think I could really recreate this actual like asset over here because Fusion is I'm not really that great at Fusion. I'm very much still kind of really good with Fusion, but not like that good with this. So that's why. As for all my other assets, like for instance, the door assets have been recreated in Fusion and then ported to Roblox. Which, as you can tell, most of these assets look actually really better than most of the assets that really, to be honest, TRP has had in the actual game right now. Things like this. Like if you look at the original kitchen door, you can tell that this kitchen door was not the best asset, but looked pretty okay. And then this kitchen door looks almost really much better than this asset door. And even though you can tell the difference that there is some sort of thing going on with how it looks, and because these doors are a little bit more wider than these doors, it's still practically a really good asset that I've recreated in Roblox. And so yeah, there are some assets that are of course free model assets that I have redone simply because recreating these assets in Fusion would not really work, or they would take a lot of time, and a lot of that time could be spent on trying to get the game up and running and such like that. There have also been some other assets that I have redone, such as this one. This is the stove asset. You can tell that this is actually from Fusion because of the fact is that this asset kind of looks like it did come from Fusion, and I did kind of have to simplify this down a little bit because the original asset was originally going to have this open door kind of thing with it. The problem is that it's all one asset, so I have to then do some stuff with this to make it so that way it can do that, and that would take a long time, so I'm not going to really do that. And there are some other assets that I've recreated, such as this one. The original sun asset for the stage was recreated with this asset, which this asset I have recreated in Fusion as well. And I've also had some fillet. I used fillet for some of these models because it just looks really well done with fillet. And what I do, by the way, is that I just always do new body every time for these models. If you do join on these models, you will not get a really good model. In fact, you will get a good model. You're just not going to be able to recolor it as much, and it will not look as good. And that's why I kind of had to do that. Some of the other assets I've been kind of thinking, I kind of been working on right now is Geo's Factory, which of course the sign was recreated in Fusion. And then also we have some other stuff over here, which were from the original map, but also recreated. Such as this one. There's the old radio that we had in the original map got recreated because the original asset looked so bad. It looked really that bad, honestly. And yeah, some of these assets look pretty good too. Like these these new ones we have. I think I got from another game that I'm making, and so these ones actually look really much better than the original assets that originally came with these. Also, I did some modifications, such as this generator having this little thing on it to tell that it's, it's on, of course, and a button on it, I guess. And also, I've done some work here and there with this. And I also recreated these little things over here. Now, as you may have noticed, some of these do look a little off, and that is true. Because, these are the original assets. The original assets from the original one. The difference is that these ones are a little bit more better than the original ones. Such as this thing over here, which I have on this. Which is because of the fact is that I thought that the original assets just didn't look that the original versions of this little thing just didn't really look that good, so I recreated it in Fusion. Put it to fill it and then made it a join kind of thing, so that way these look pretty good. And so that's essentially what I did to do that. Another thing that you may have noticed is the Bellingham Hospital logo has changed. Now, if you're wondering why the Bellingham Hospital logo has changed, there's been various changes with the map because of the Red Cross. And unfortunately, I cannot have that in this game because of worldwide issues with that kind of thing. So I'm like, hell no. Might as well just recreate this asset and redo it in Roblox just to make it look slightly different than the actual Red Cross. So here it is. And also there is going to be there is also finally a restroom map in this. And as you may have noticed, there's also new lightings that are going to be in this game. And in all the maps, by the way. Because this new lighting is practically better. It is from one of my other games, and I have then ported some of the assets over to here to make these light assets look really good. Again, in Roblox, though, you may not notice because of the because they're neon lights, and you won't really notice them until you really see the finer details on them. And as you may have noticed, I have redone the sign over here to say X-Date 1998 because the original place, there's going to be a prequel map of Toki's Pizzeria which takes place in Japan. So, yeah. And as for really the house map, actually, I've redone the windows for them, and they look kind of a little bit more better now than before. And also added these little pillars so that way it makes more sense as to why the house is being upheld, because this area in the original map, I think, is not upholded, and it looks kind of weird. So I did that, and I also did this one too. I replaced the old ones with these ones because they just look so much better. And as for some of these ones, I haven't, of course, recreated some other assets, like the lamp assets. You can tell that the lamp in this one is much less detailed and looks like a Roblox asset. And this one is still kind of the same thing. I added the light bulb. I cannot do the light bulb because of, I had problems with it. But really, to be honest, yeah, this looks more like a lamp asset than it really did before, because this asset looks 1,000 times better than this one. Plus a lot of new texturing and all that, which is mainly just from Roblox itself. There was also been some other stuff as well, really, to be honest, but not much. This new flower asset, which we got from which I got mainly from, what is it called? I mainly got this asset from that Roblox asset store, the toolbox. I did a little bit of some techniques though with it, so just kind of adding this thing in it. Well, not really adding anything for this, but really, to be honest, I just kind of redid the table a little bit, Stuff like that, like the finer details that really stand out the most to the people and to the players. As well as I'm kind of redoing, I kind of got some little mesh things over here going on that might or might not really be added into the game, depending on what assets I'm going to be using. Again, most of these I haven't even used yet, but some of them I might end up using just because of the finer details that you can really tell about these assets for the most part. And also, there is some other assets that I have been noting that I've been kind of experimenting with, such as this T over here. You may notice this is actually in one of those like Gothic fonts. I forgot what's the font's called, but I recreated this in Fusion and decided to port this over to Roblox, and it looks clean as heck. I mean, you can tell that it was clean. But yeah. Really, to be honest, there are some other assets here that I haven't actually... Well, there are actually some other assets I haven't shown off here. You may have noticed, such as the microwave. This is a new microwave asset I have recreated for another game that I ported to this game. And in this TV, which you'll probably never see because the game takes place in, like 2003? Technically, I know that widescreen TVs kind of work out by the time then, but even still, widescreen TVs that were like this much, and any kind of like TV that was like that much, and like these kind of TVs, they're not really, they weren't really that prominent back in the 2000s as much. They cost a lot of money. But I think that these TVs were kind of still here. They're kind of still there, but I'm not going to really add that asset into the game. And there are some other assets that I've kind of redid, such as this one. And this one has actually this one actually I kind of recreated in Fusion and did the bars and everything in Roblox because it was much more easier to do. And this is another bookshelf case that I had with this bookshelf thing that I kind of created in Roblox. And it looks kind of cool, you know? Really simplistic, really easy to do. And there is another asset that I've actually created called this one, which is, I call it the, it was supposed to be like a little minigun kind of thing. Like a portable minigun. And again, this kind of asset I've just kind of just made as like some sort of like little haha thing, I guess. Really. Not much really for this asset other than that. It doesn't really look too good, but honestly, this is my first time ever kind of making a gun asset in Fusion and porting it to Roblox, so yeah, that's starting to look pretty cool. And then I ported these little assets over here from, of course, the same thing, which are these party hat assets, which look 1,000 times better than the original party hat assets, which are these things. But they're practically basically but they're basically kind of different because of this thing that's in there now. So now, they're a little bit more detailed and 1,000 times much more better than the original assets from before. So yeah, that's really kind of it, guys. As for some of the stuff, there have been some little details I've added over here and some other stuff, but really, to be honest, for most of the models, I think that's practically it for now. I'm just going to be waiting on my modeler to finish up the models, so that way we can then redo all the tables and stuff like that and get all that done. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. And again, guys, that's really it for what I have to show you guys as a whole. Not much going on right now, but there is going to be a lot more going on in the future. And I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.